the chamber. On behalf of the chamber, I'd like to welcome everybody here to the first session of the new year. We're going to have some great presentations, I think, with the Smart Train. And I want to welcome, of course, David Hagley, and I can see Skylar's there. I don't know if I can see anybody else from City Council, but welcome to the meeting. Talia, anything you have that you'd like to get out there before we dive in?
Just a good morning to Healdsburg, and we're grateful to have the SMART team with us. I was mentioning to Eddie that I served on the original executive team with White House Mosier to bring SMART actually to San Rafael in the beginning. And it's nice to see, 20 some years later that it was actually off and going in a running train. So we look forward to updates today, and I appreciate everyone's attendance. Happy New Year.
Great. All right. I'd like to welcome Eddie and Matt. Eddie Cummins and Matt Stevens from the Smart Train. They're going to be giving us a little update on what's going on, always topical. So I'll just turn it over to you at this point. Eddie, Matt.
Well, thank you. Matt's going to be providing the presentation today. He's going to be handling those duties, but I did want to just take a moment to introduce myself. My name is Eddie Cummins. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here today. I cannot express how excited I am to be joining the SMART team. I've been in the transit business for over 10 years. I came from the Utah Transit Authority, and I think that my past experience as a chief operating officer is a great fit for SMART, and I think that I have the right skill set to lead the agency into the future. Over the past month, I've had the opportunity to get out and meet with a lot of elected officials, board members, staff, and I've learned a lot. I have. I mean, it's very interesting to understand the history and kind of the background of the SMART train. So I've learned a lot, but I think that in my short time here, I've gained a good understanding of kind of the priorities for the agency. I go out and listen to people, the things that I hear, the same topics over and over again. I hear about ridership, the pathway, rail extensions to the north, and freight. And those seem to be the topics at the top of everyone's mind. And I think that those are going to be kind of the major priorities as we look towards the future. To put ourselves in a position to be successful and achieve goals, I think it's critically important that the board and the staff is well aligned. And I brought this up last month in a board meeting with the board and talked about the need to do some strategic planning. That message was well received, and so we'll be doing that work over the next few months. So if you're interested in kind of what's going on in the agency and where we're headed, I would encourage everyone to tune into the board meetings because there's going to be a lot of work going on there and a lot of strategic talking about what's going to happen in the future. As I've looked at things, again, only been here a month, but I truly believe that the SMART train has a bright future. I think that if you people ask me all the time, what is my number one goal? And my number one goal is to make sure that the SMART train meets the transportation needs of the community. It's really that simple. And so that's what I'm going to be focused on. That's what I'm going to be doing. And I just, again, can't express how excited I am to be a part of this community. And I hope as I'm out running around, I have an opportunity to meet each and every one of you. So again, thank you for the opportunity to be here today. Look forward to getting to know everyone. And with that, I will turn it over to Matt. And then I think at the end of this, we'll have an opportunity to answer some of your questions. So Matt.
Thank you, Eddie. Good morning, everybody. It is a pleasure to be here. I have a PowerPoint presentation that will share a lot of information about what's happened in the last year. And then at the end, I've got a video that I'd like to share with you that, well, I'll just wait until the video comes. It'll be self-explanatory. So let me get my act together here. Okay. Share sound. Excellent, thank you. So my first slide is a picture I want to share. And, there's some pictures that, tell 1,000 words. And I think this is one of those. One thing I always like to remind people is that SMART is still a startup. We started service in August 25 in 2017. And since we've been in service these nearly 5 short years, we've entered our 5th year this year. Quite a number of things have happened. If you look at the graph right there, you'll see to the left, we opened in August 17. Then you'll notice that the first dip in ridership that we've had is associated with the Tubbs fire in October 17. After the Tubbs fire, we slowly built our ridership back up. We had 1 year of service, we had sort of hit our peak, or at least our current record. And then in November of 18, we had the Camp Fire. February of 19, we had significant flooding, and you can see kind of the up and down jagged line of our ridership. It really peaks and valleys with these events. In October 2019, the Kincaid Fire happened. However, in late 19, a couple of other significant events happened. One was that we opened up the Larkspur station with that ferry connection to San Francisco. And then we also opened a new station in Novato downtown. And then in January and February of 2020, we were setting records for ridership. We were regularly carrying more than 3,000 riders a day. And we were just feeling really good about that. And then, of course, in March 2020, the COVID-19 pandemic arrived in the US and California. And frankly, every transit operator in the world, their ridership plummeted. Our ridership went down to about 18% of pre-COVID ridership, which was actually not as bad as most of the other Bay Area transit providers. And then slowly we've been growing our ridership back. And you can see in August of 2020, we had the lightning complex fires. And then you can see, though, that we're actually on the uptick there at the end of our graph. And so this really tells a story about SMART, that when we started our service and as a startup, we had significant challenges. However, we've also demonstrated significant resilience in terms of providing our service to the North Bay community. We last spring, we felt it was really important to take advantage of the receding pandemic and the coming summer to welcome our riders back to the train. So we initiated a Welcome Back campaign. That Welcome Back campaign really signaled some significant changes. One of the first changes was we added a lot of ridership back. In May 2021, we added 2 new morning trips and 3 new afternoon trips to our weekday schedule for a total of 26 trips. And with the additional service, our ridership actually grew 78% from kind of the bottom of that COVID trough. We also added evening service. One of the things that we heard from our riders that they would love to be able to go to San Rafael and have dinner and take the train back to Sonoma County. So we added a train that departs Larkspur at 8:29 p.m. And so that really gives people an opportunity to take advantage of the train for going out for dinner. We also added Saturday service back to our schedule. When the pandemic was raging in 2020, our service was reduced significantly because our ridership was reduced significantly. We also basically suspended weekend service for that year. So last year we added Saturday service back. We added an extra round trip on Saturdays, so we have 12 Saturday round trips. Weekday ridership was recovering. Weekend ridership recovered by 65% from pre-pandemic. Another part of our Welcome Back campaign is we initiated a fare reduction, basically a promotion where we reduced our fares by just over 40%. That means that a single ride in a single zone, it was $1.50. So we have a $1.50 base fare and then $1.50 for every additional fare, every additional zone. If you're a discount rider, that means if you're a youth or a senior or you're a low income person, or you have a disability, you can get 50% off these fares, either on Clipper or on our smart e-ticket app. And I'll say more about that in a minute. We also offered a new weekend day pass where you could ride the train all day for $10 if you were an adult. And then again, if you're a discount rider, you could get that same all day pass for $5. So here's some examples of what our fares are like now. So example one is if you're an adult and you're departing from downtown Petaluma to Santa Rosa, a one-way Clipper ticket is going to be $3. That's because it's a two-zone trip. And that will also include a free one-way transfer on Santa Rosa City Bus. So we have agreements with all of the North Bay transit operators to offer transfers. So Santa Rosa City Bus, they have a flat rate of $1.50. So you can ride a Santa Rosa City Bus anywhere in Santa Rosa for $1.50. We also offer transfers from Marin Transit and Golden Gate Transit as well as the ferry at Larkspur. The second example is be a youth, and our youth age range is from 5 to 18. So you can get the youth fare through your 18th year. Or if you're a senior, 65 or older, that trip from downtown Petaluma to Larkspur one way with a Clipper card is $2.25. And that includes a 75-cent transfer to Larkspur Ferry. We think that that's a screaming good deal, these new fare promotions. The third example, consider a family of 4. That could be 2 adults, 1 youth, and 1 underage at 5 years old. They can board the train at Sonoma County Airport, visit Santa Rosa, get off in Petaluma, get back on, go to San Rafael, and basically spend the day taking the train to various cities in the North Bay. And if you use our mobile app Weekend Day Pass, a total cost of $25 for that.
Hey, if you didn't have the promotional rate, or I guess maybe you're going to get into that, but what would it be for say that person who's going from Petaluma to Larkspur?
Oh, without the promotion?
Yeah.
Well, basically add 40% to that. So a base rate prior to the promotion was $3.50, and then it was $3 per zone after that.
Thank you.
And so this slide shows our discount fare products. So we also offer what we call the Sail and Rail bundled fare. So you can get on the train anywhere in the North Bay and get on the ferry and take a ferry trip to San Francisco for $12 flat rate. That's a one-way trip. And that fare product is only available on our e-ticket app. You also can get a round trip fare for the Sail and Rail bundled package as well. Again, we offer our weekend day pass for $10 for a regular adult or $5 if you're a discount rider. Clipper initiated a new program about 1.5 years ago called Clipper Start. So if you qualify, and this is a means-based income qualification, you can receive 50% off all of our fares as well. And this is true for any fare in San Francisco if you're using Clipper and you qualify for this rate. And then we also have a 31-day pass. And this is really a product for our commuters. You can purchase a 31-day pass any time of the month, and it will be good for 31 consecutive days after the date of your first use. So if you bought the pass on, say, January 1st, but you didn't use it until January 10th, you would be able to use that product from January 10 to February 10. And the regular adult price for that 31-day pass is $135. And if you're a discount rider, it's $67.50. By the way, if you have any questions, you can just, in terms about the slides, just jump right in and I'll be happy to answer them. So another part of our Welcome Back campaign, of course, is addressing the COVID-19 situation. When the pandemic began, we, along with all other transit operators, really took a hard look at how we can make our vehicles as safe as possible for people to travel on. So we believe that the public transit remains a safe way to travel, and we implemented multiple measures to limit the spread of COVID-19 on the trains. First of all, we installed 2 hand sanitizers on every train car. We do a thorough cleaning of the trains twice daily, and then also usually at the end of our line, either at Larkspur or at the airport station between runs, our train operators will clean the train again. We've upgraded all of our filters in our HVAC system to MERV 13, which is the highest rated filter that you can put on a vehicle. We also introduced a couple of new innovative technologies. One is the electrostatic sanitizer. We deployed that actually at the end of each run as well. And that is a interesting thing. Basically, it discharges a disinfectant that has positively charged ions in the drop water, the disinfectant water particles, and that attracts small particles like a magnet. And so it attracts any virus particles that are in the atmosphere and disinfects them. And then the thing I'm most proud about probably is our superintendent of vehicle maintenance had an idea about deploying something that has long been used in water treatment, which is ultraviolet light purification. So he literally invented a way to install ultraviolet lights in our HVAC system. And I've got an image there on that on the slide. And what that does is that kills any pathogens that is passing through our HVAC system. And then our trains also refresh the air every 5.5 minutes. And so we really do believe that the train is one of the safer places you can be right now. We also believe that, we have to have a healthy workforce during this time. SMART's greatest assets are our workers, and we strive to create a healthy workplace as possible. Right now, current employees are required to either show proof of vaccination or get tested twice a week. And then all new employees are required to show proof of vaccination before they can come to work. And I'm going to shift here from healthy workplace to healthy planet. I know this is a bit of a radical move, but I think it's really important to also talk about how taking the train helps protect our planet. Smart riders have a much lower carbon footprint. People who ride smart basically emit 33% fewer greenhouse gases per mile than if they drive. We believe that people who also take, it's not a belief, we actually know this, people who take the train use other forms of public transit, 50% either walk or take a bus to and from work. And actually, I think the number is up to 18% now of people who ride the train actually bring a bicycle on board and use a bicycle to solve that last mile problem. And we do also take cars off the highway. A full train carries 158 people, and then we know that the average commute car carries an average of 1.08 passengers. So essentially, it's one person per car. And so if we have a full train, that's taking 148 cars off our highways right now. Looking ahead, I'd like to talk a little bit about what we're doing with our transit partners to improve our opportunities for riders to use the train. We've been working closely with the Golden Gate Ferry at Larkspur to improve the connections. And so in September, the number of train ferry connections doubled at Larkspur. We're also partnering with the Sonoma County Airport to explore ways to strengthen the connection between SMART, the airport station, and the airport itself. Sonoma County Transit actually provides a bus that you can take from the bus stop is right across the street from the airport station. You can take that to the airport. And then I'm really excited about this. This year, we're actually going to be participating in a bike share program where 10 of our stations will have electric bikes stationed at those locations. It'll be a rental, so you can rent and you can take the train to San Rafael, rent an e-bike that would be parked at the station, and then ride that e-bike to your destination. So we're really excited about this, and we're looking forward to seeing that be implemented. And then we're also, I'm sure you're aware of this, we're exploring ways how we can, since we've been taking over freight service this year, how we can use that to benefit the public as well. And so that's still, I think, a work in progress. We had a presentation yesterday at our board about the freight budget, and that actually the board meetings are archived on our website. And so if you missed the board meeting, you can actually go back and watch it on our website. In terms of looking ahead for construction, of course, we're always working on getting our bike paths constructed. We currently have approximately 25 miles completed. We've got 9.8 miles that are fully funded and ready for construction, and that will begin this year. And then we also have an additional 11.97 miles that are funded for design. And that actually equals 47 miles of total progress on our bike path, which is about what we've built on our rail corridor as well for passenger service. The Windsor project probably needs a little explanation. That's currently about 30% constructed. The project is a little over 3 miles of rail and pathway from Airport Boulevard up to Windsor. We're currently seeking additional funding to complete this project. The funding that we had to complete the project was coming from Regional Measure 3. And if you're following that, you know that there was a lawsuit that was filed against Metropolitan Transportation Commission and the Bay Toll Authority by the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association. The lawsuit is basically about the Taxpayers Association believing that the use fee for bridge tolls is a tax, and so they filed the lawsuit. The first court that heard the case rejected that claim. The appellate court upheld the ruling of the first court, and then they appealed that to the state Supreme Court, and they elected to actually hear the case. And so we felt it was important to suspend construction until that gets resolved or we find additional funding. Once we get funding for completion at Windsor, I think we can get that up and running in about 18 months. We're also engaged in a public-private partnership with the Danco Communities and the City of Petaluma, and we're collectively seeking funding to construct an affordable housing project and a smart station at Petaluma North Smart Station at Corona Road in Petaluma. I always like to close my presentations with a few things that will help you use the train more effectively. One is service alerts and updates. Obviously, you can get more information about SMART on our social media platforms. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We also have an e-newsletter that we send out probably once or twice a month. You can subscribe for those on our website. We also use Nixle to alert our passengers of any train delays that might occur. You can simply subscribe to that by texting the word SMART to 888-777, and then you'll get our Nixle alerts. And of course, we always encourage you to visit our website at sonoma-marintrain.org. It's a wealth of information. You can see past board meetings. You can see current board meetings through Granicus on our website. And all of the sort of new and important documents that we post that the board approves are posted on the website as well. I also always like to close with a little safety message. This is really important. If we have over 50 at-grade crossings in the North Bay, so it's really important to never walk on the tracks. It's not just dangerous, but it's illegal. Only cross the tracks at a designated railroad crossing. Be sure to wait until all bells and lights have stopped flashing and sounding and the gate has come back up. Never try to race a train across the crossing. It's a losing proposition. And of course, don't be distracted. You should never put headphones on or use your cell phone while you're driving or walking near trains and tracks. A railroad is an unforgiving environment, and it requires high awareness and attention to be safe around them. I want to close by coming back to our passengers, because our passengers are the heart of what we do. We exist to serve our passengers and serve all the residents in the North Bay and the people that visit the North Bay as well. On June 23rd of 2021, we carried our 2 millionth rider. And we saw over 70,000 boardings in the last 12 months, beginning at the pandemic until now. And so we're really excited about that. And then I'd like to close with a brief video about our riders. So I'll do that now. I need to go over here and turn on the audio. Let's see here. There we go. Can you hear the sound okay?
Hi, my name is Isabella and I live in Petaluma, and I love taking the train because getting to work is much faster and less stressful.
My name is Mike Gallup. I ride the SMART train from Petaluma, my hometown, to where I work in Sausalito twice a week. It's great to get out of the traffic and get some exercise, and it's been pleasant. I actually look forward to it. It's fun.
I'm Carlin from San Francisco. I love riding the SMART train because it lets me explore parts of Marin and Sonoma that I wouldn't otherwise be able to.
Hi, my name is Nam Kiran. I live in Santa Rosa. I take the train every day to Nevada with my bike. It's way better than sitting in traffic, and I get a little exercise too.
Good morning, my name is Zachary. I live in Fairfax. I work in Petaluma. I ride my bike to the train. It's a way more relaxing, enjoyable, and pleasant commute. I love it.
I'm from Nevada, and the SMART train has really improved my life by allowing me to commute from here to college. It's awesome.
My name is Chris Benton. I've been riding SMART for 2 years now, or I've been bicycling to work. Prior to that, I commuted 21 years to San Rafael, and I was about to quit my job in San Rafael. Then the train came along, and I got a nice little folding bicycle, and from there, it's been wonderful. It's a great train, great crowd. We're here at the rear end rowdy section, so it's all good.
Okay, and that's my presentation. I think now we really would be happy to take any questions.
Okay, well, we've got a few that have come up on the chat screen.
Okay, I'm going to break out of this.
The first one I see that hasn't already been probably responded to is from Randy Johnson, who asks, who uses SMART? Is it mostly commuters? Are there any plans to target SF San Francisco visitors? Let's see, I just lost my, somebody messed around with that. Yeah, any plans to target San Francisco visitors with seamless transfers and competitive pricing to come up here without a car?
Well, we're working. You'll go ahead, Eddie.
Oh, yeah, I'll take that question. So to answer the question, traditionally a commuter train usually focuses on commuters. With the pandemic, I think that's kind of changed, right? And I think that our ability to continue to grow ridership over time, I think we have to look at different markets. It's not that we didn't look at other markets before, but I think it's becoming increasingly important as we look forward. I think the tourism market is one that we need to take a serious look at. Been a lot of conversations going on with staff since I've been here talking about that. And I think that, you know, that's something we need to do. We need to figure it out. This is going to be a big part of that strategic planning that I was talking about with the board. So when we get to that component where we're talking about ridership, we're going to want to identify what are these other markets that are out there and how do we encourage those folks to hop on the train and ride transit. So thanks for the question.
Right. Got a question from Valerie White about how many cars will be at each freight train? 4, 10, 20. Have you got a kind of a fix on that yet?
So I assume she's talking about the commuter train, right?
I think she's saying freight, but was Valerie out there?
Yes, I'm out here. He's talking about freight will be part of the SMART train line. So I was wondering when or if that happens, how many cars will be included in like one, not riders, but you know what I'm saying? Like when a freight train goes through town, will there be 20 cars or 4 cars? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so. And so we have just a few customers, so I wouldn't imagine that the trains would be too long coming through here. It's hard to say that it'll be 5 or 6 or 2, right? But it's not going to be, on the freight side, as we talk about, it's not like we're going to have those trains, that are 100 cars long.
Not unless you get that Amazon contract.
That would be nice.
Just saying. Okay. Next question is from Skip Brand, who is our peer smart type train group. Is it Eddie, maybe your group out of Utah, or yeah, I know that, from previous presentations by Smart, some information that was kind of interesting is there is no commuter train or no similar train service that actually makes money or breaks even other than the one from work train from Tijuana to San Diego, if I remember right.
That's a really good one, by the way. Great train.
Yeah. So I think I don't remember the exact number. It seems like there's 26. I think that's the number I remember. There's 26 commuter rail services across the country. When I compare the SMART train to UTA, where I came from, the Utah Transit Authority, they call their commuter train Front Runner, and it's about 80 miles long. So it's almost twice as long as the SMART train, but there's a lot of similarities to it. I think the major difference is probably just the length of that system, but I think that they're comparable, definitely comparable.
When you, Eddie, over there, you guys have a great train ride, and then they bike back, which just has the biking guys loving it. And everybody talks about that train because that's a classic bike ride and a classic train ride. You ride one way and train the other. It's kind of, these trains get to have some really great fitness stuff with it. It's fun.
Absolutely. Yeah, there is a really nice trail system in Utah along the rail line.
And I think that's our intent as well. As you get going here, it's usually those, Mark, you made the point, they don't make money. Usually those that are trying around rural areas do as many things possible to support the train, because obviously it's a numbers issue, right? It's not Caltrain. It's much. Right. I did Caltrain for 20 years and we couldn't live without it. I think we'll say the same in SMART. It's just going to take time.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, I look at this thing too. I mean, I'm work in town, so I don't use it, but it might be something like the Sonoma Dam, Lake Sonoma. I can remember when that was being put up and all the consternation on both sides. And of course, it's been awesome to be there. And I think that as this develops, it's going to be the same thing. We got a question actually on operating costs from Talia about what are the daily operating costs for the SMART train?
I would honestly have to do the math. I'd have to do the math. I think our operating budget's right around somewhere between 20, depending on the year and the level of service that we run. But I think we're around that $26 to $30 million a year operating budget. So I'd have to do that math. And obviously, operating costs are dependent upon the amount of service that you run. So a weekday of service obviously would cost more than a Saturday or Sunday service. Sure.
What about a lot of that has to obviously get funded by taxpayers or by some other source. And I would assume that got worse with COVID. Even though you cut ridership, you're going to have some costs which are fixed. Has that put you in a bind in any way? I'm assuming it did, but like everybody else.
So I'm telling you, obviously, if your ridership goes down, your fares go down. There were some programs that came in from the federal government, some grants. The CARES Act was a big one. And so transit agencies across the country were able to receive some of those funds that really helped help transit agencies maintain through this difficult time, and really making sure that we keep our employees employed. Right. Because that's a major challenge. And so federal government really helped out transit agencies across the country.
That's great.
I would like to add something to that, please, which is that, the SMART train concept is really founded on, it's a taxpayer supported service that the voters of the North Bay elected to tax themselves for. It's a 0.25% sales tax, which means for every $100 you spend you add 25 cents for the SMART train. And Eddie's right. We had support from the CARES Act during the pandemic, as well as all other transit operators. And fare revenue is important, part of our revenue mix. But the train was created to be operated in large part with local sales tax.
And has it been proven that the sales tax dollars is, along with whatever you get from ridership, is sufficient to take care of the overhead?
Go ahead, Eddie.
Yeah, I would just say that it's sufficient for what we're running now, right? So we have the operating funds from what we run today.
Cool. I have a question about if you know, where would the Healdsburg train station be located? I realize that's a ways off, like train trestles and all kinds of things that are in the way, but has there been any discussion about that? I think that's also from Valerie.
Yeah, you want to take that one, Matt?
Yes, I'd be happy to. You know, originally the concept for the Healdsburg station was to utilize the historic station, which is just south of downtown, but just north of the rail bridge over the Russian River. But in the last couple of years, there has been a discussion, I think, with the city of Healdsburg, and if there's any council members that can have better information than I do, please chime in. But the city has been looking at locating a train station near the downtown. I think it's North Street is one possible location. It's where the farmers market is. I don't think that there's much more there than just the conversations we've been having. I think certainly we would be very open to considering a station location that works well with the city and works well with the ridership that comes to the city.
Thank you for that, Matt. Yeah, I'll just jump in real quickly. I wasn't here for those conversations, but that's exactly right. The possibility exists that it could be co-located at the 3 North project, the old Cherry Building redevelopment, but no formal decision has been made to lock that in. So,
yeah, I know in previous discussions, obviously that's a great area because you can get right off at the center of town, or at least within a block. It's always been whatever the throw of the train itself was, blocking intersections, which the, I guess the. Okay, let's see if we've got another one. Skip Brand has a question. Who else has a train to get into the tourist side? Who else has a train to wine country? Are they in Italy, France, South Africa, Australia?
I don't know the answer to that question, but I think it's unique that we have a train that goes to wine country, right? Being new to this area, I know everybody loves where they live, but being new to this area, I think some people take it for granted. This place is beautiful. My wife and I just love it here. And I think that, again, it becomes part of our marketing strategy as we move forward, right? But this is a great place for people to come to visit. And I think that we just need to get the word out that Smart Train is a great way to visit wine country.
All right.
I can say, I'll just chime in. I lived in Australia for 6 years and traveling to both Melbourne and Sydney. They have wine regions within a couple hours. In Melbourne, you have the Yarra and Mornington, and both of them you can access by train. I think it's Metlink, and then I can't remember the one out of Sydney, and that gets you to the Hunter Valley. And we've used them both. So
that's awesome.
Great.
Yeah. So yeah, great question, Skip. Because yeah, it was nice and you just easy to get to, and just overall, just a great bonus.
It makes us all learn the Hunter Valley. We wouldn't know it without the train. It's awesome.
Yeah. And I think we have a question for you, Jess, about those of us who are late. Is there a copy of the slides available by email?
Oh, of course.
Yeah, Matt, if you send that my way, I'm happy to send it to everybody who's on our call today.
Cool. All right, let's see if I've got anything else here. Will Seppi, Eddie, you mentioned strategic plan. Would you elaborate, please? It sounds like there isn't an existing plan. Also, what are the plans and most updated costs to get the line working up to Healdsburg?
Yeah, I can talk about that. I should probably come up with a better word than strategic plan, to be honest with you, because the agency does have a strategic plan. But me coming in, being new, coming in, looking at everything with a fresh set of eyes, I think it's important that I'm personally well aligned with the board. And so I think it's important for the board to go through, really take a hard look at where we are today on those priorities that I mentioned, which are ridership, pathway, rail extension, and freight, and really take a serious look at where we're at today. What are the gaps? What are the opportunities? and then build an action plan that focuses us on moving forward in the future. And so the agency does have a strategic plan, but I think that we need to take that a step further and really develop some action plans, maybe a better word, to make sure that we're achieving our goals and we're making progress.
All right, so we're going to need to get Matt and Eddie's cell phone number, so the rest of the people who have questions can call you. No, just kidding. I'm sure they know where to get hold of Smart. If they do, we're kind of starting to run over time on what we had for you. It's been so much interest. It's been great, and we really appreciate you, Matt and Eddie, for everything that you brought to us today, and your willingness to to share that information. So I'm going to close off on your side of it. You're cut free, and we're going to switch over to the City Council. And is it Dave or Skylar who's going to make a presentation for us?
We'll start with Evelyn, former mayor.
Evelyn. Is Evelyn out there? Okay, great. Hi, Evelyn.
Hi, good morning, everyone. How are you?
Good.
So yeah, just an update. We're sort of going to split up some of the things that we did at the council meeting on Monday. So the council approved the professional services agreement with the Economic and Planning Systems Incorporated company to do the sixth cycle of our housing element update, which is a big deal. And it's going to take a lot of effort on many people's parts. We also had a subcommittee who interviewed people who wanted to be part of the discussion. And so we also approved that group, which we've got some great people, Carrie Hunt, Ari Rosen, Jesus Guzman from Corazon, Erica Baldovinos, I think is its parent, Rick Cafferta, Dean Clatter, Jim Hyde, Emily Podolak, and Deborah Kravitz. Dean and Deborah were on the Housing Action Committee before this, so they have a lot of history with the city on this, so they'll be able to add from that perspective. This is a requirement, state mandated, that part of our general plan that we update the housing element every 8 years. And so that's what we're embarking on, and we have to have it done by the end of next year. So it's a pretty rigorous program and plan. It's a Brown Act committee, so they will be noticed, and public attendance is a key critical piece of getting the housing element right. So they're going to assess our housing needs, our inventory constraints, and the program requirements, make sure we're meeting all the state mandated requirements. So that's going to be happening. I think the first meeting is going to start next week. So they're going to be meeting pretty fast and doing a lot of good work. And then the other thing I just wanted to report on is that we also chose a subcommittee. We have a planning commissioner to appoint, and council member Vice Mayor Ariel Kelly and myself are the two people who will be on that subcommittee interviewing applicants. So we'll get going on that right away. David?
All right, I will just touch on, I think everybody's seen in the news, the L&M Motel. When the state came out with Project Home Key, there were a number of hotel motel operators that looked at opportunities to be able to take advantage of that in terms of selling their properties. The city and the county also put the word out that there's an opportunity to access some of these funds, and through that, the city was able to get under contract for the purchase of the L&M Motel, which would provide 22 units of interim housing for those that are experiencing homelessness in the area. And it's something that after years and years of do something, there are a lot of things that are coming together that are making this possibility a reality. That said, it's obviously a very controversial issue. There are a lot of concerns. We have a couple of things planned. First is, and maybe the chamber can send out the invitation. It's been posted on the City of Healdsburg's Facebook page, but on January 11th at 5 p.m., there will be kind of an information presentation from the City of Healdsburg and Reach for Home, just basically outlining what's going to be there, what the kind of the concepts and what's some of the background. And I know in my 5 years being on city council, we have a very, very informed community aside from the public comments at the last couple of meetings from people that don't live in town, the public comments are very well educated. They're typically fact-based, and they're very informative for council members. So I would encourage the business community and our residents at large to tune into this meeting, learn what's going to be there, and then reach out to us with comments, thoughts, feedback, concerns. If there's something that you have real concerns about or think about, let us know. But my recommendation is start with this meeting on the 11th, tune in, absorb what's there, and then we're going to follow up, I believe, on the 18th with our next council meeting, when this item will be on our agenda. And that's the time that, you know, there's that gap between the presentation on the 11th and our council meeting where the community has the details on what's going to be there, and hopefully a lot of the concerns we can address and consider at the council meeting. So I just wanted to put those on the radar. And again, if the chamber can get the word out for the presentation on the 11th, that'd be really helpful.
Are you guys in contract already for purchase?
We are, aren't we? I believe we are.
We have a letter of intent. We do not have an executed purchase and sale agreement at this time.
Yeah, we had to be under a term sheet or something to that level to be able to apply for the funds. But yeah, you're right. The contract would then have to come back to council in a public session, correct, Jeff?
Well, the overall funding acceptance and moving forward does. I think we have direction to execute that already from council, but wouldn't do so without affirmative direction.
Yeah.
So that's what's coming up later this month.
And then I
think one of the questions is, you know, how many units do you expect to be there, and what is this going to service the 74 or 5 people we have that are homeless in town, or are we going to be bringing other homeless people in to the units?
So a lot of that will be covered on the 11th. There's going to be 22 units. A lot of the detail will include the source of the funding. We have some coming from Project Home Key, some coming from the county. There's also, you know, some big concerns for me are, you know, I always like to ask the question with anything new is when you have a funding stream is when that runs out, and then what? So we're talking about some operating expenses. What does that mean? The impact on the neighbors, the impact on the community. We've heard comments about the interest to town. You know, so there's a lot to consider, and we're already getting a lot of that feedback to consider, and staff is listening to all of that so that we can really, you know, I think Healdsburg historically, whenever we do something, whether it's roundabouts or anything, plazas, we do it right. And I think this is another opportunity that we can kind of follow up on that tradition. And so but it's not something that we're just gonna, you know, we want and need the community input and feedback to be able to do it right.
So Dave, do we have some kind of requirement? I would assume that homelessness is a regional issue, and despite the fact that we may have a limited number, that we have do we have an obligation to take care of this? You know, I would imagine there's something out there that requires us to do something that we should be looking at.
Jeff, do you want to take that one? Do you know the specifics on that?
I don't know if there's an obligation to do something. There is a serious legal constraint in terms of your ability to do anything if you don't have housing. It's the Boise case, if anybody wants to look it up. And the ability to ask people to move from wherever they may be is really, really limited if you can't offer them shelter. So that's not an obligation, but it's a legal constraint that this would take a lot of pressure off and give us a lot more options. The other thing I'll say, as far as people coming from different areas, what our outreach has informed really consistently is people don't want to go to another location. We can right now say you can go to a congregate shelter in Santa Rosa. Nobody ever takes us up on that. A, because they don't want to go to Santa Rosa. B, because I think there's a big difference between congregate and non-congregate facilities, especially in the middle of a pandemic. You hear about the outbreaks. So I feel fairly confident we're not. I know a lot of people ask, and I understand the concern, are we importing a problem? And that's part of why I think this is a good potential, is because the size makes a lot of sense for the scope of the challenge here in Healdsburg. I've had people ask about other facilities, and we looked at every option that we could find in terms of real estate, but this is one where it really hits the sweet spot in terms of size. And I think it's about the right numbers to address the population that we have here right now, and not create an importing situation and not be undersized where we really can't make a dent.
And I just want to add that this is part of, I want to make sure that people can step back and look at this as part of a broader, larger overall goal of what we're trying to achieve here. This is transitional housing. We have a lot of affordable income restricted units that are coming down the pipeline. And so this is one piece of that puzzle that we've been working on, and Healdsburg has been very proactive in doing that. So I think, yeah, you look at everything isolated, but I think it's really important to look at everything in the bigger concept. The goal here is to get people to transition through into permanent housing and ultimately to help them improve their lives. And I see on a couple comments here, yeah, for the meeting on Monday, there'll be a presentation and then taking comments afterwards. And I don't know if I will be there. Jackson has a basketball game or practice. So I probably won't be able to be there, but I might tune in via Zoom so we can like log in. But really, I encourage people to tune in, listen, and then share the feedback.
Hey, David, just one question. What do you need help from us if that's only 5 days away and the meeting is 12 days away? We're a good community, but 12 days is just a little under 2 weeks. What help do you need as a council person? And Evelyn and Skylar and Jeff, obviously you're jumping up for joy because you have funds. Now, are you making a decision on the 18th? Is this a slow roll process for 3 months? What do you guys need from us?
Jeff, do you want to talk a little bit more detail, talk in more detail about the 18th and what actually is involved and what's happening on the 18th?
Yeah, sure. It is our intent that the 18th is effectively a decision. We don't really see an option to be able to maintain control of this property without that firm commitment to charge forward quickly. So that is our intent. You're right, Skip, it's coming fast. So that's what you can expect at that meeting. And I think people who feel strongly about this one way or the other should be engaged now. I do also just want to note, yes, we have a meeting coming up next week, which is 5 days, 6 days, whatever, in advance. It's not the first meeting we've had. We did have a Zoom meeting back in December, and there was a request to do another one, which we're very happy to do. We've also, I saw something about the schools nearby. We've had one-on-one meetings, multiple one-on-one meetings with them. So, I do acknowledge this is something that came together quickly. So if there's some consternation on that, I get it, but I don't want to leave people with the impression that one Zoom next week is the entirety of the outreach. Our team's really been meeting kind of 6 days a week with neighbors and interest groups.
And we probably need to catch up to you. You guys probably did months of work. We got to do a lot in 12 days. We'll help you out.
Yeah, and I think that's the key, is getting the word out. The more people that know about it, because I mean, anybody that's been around politics knows it's the day of the meeting, people are like, I never heard about this. So the more that, your network, spread the word, get it out there, because this is something that, is important that we're, looking at to try to solve a very real problem, or help solve a real problem.
Okay, anything else that you have, David, or Evelyn or Skylar, for City Council that you want to bring up?
No, I think that was it. Jeff,
okay,
do you have anything to cover?
Evelyn?
Sorry?
Anything else that you wanted to mention before we move on to Jeff in general?
Yeah, no, I'm good. Let's go to Jeff.
Okay, Jeff.
All right, thank you. I'll be quick. First off, Happy New Year, everybody. Good to see you all. Good to see a good group here. And thanks to Smart for presenting. I'll just add a couple of things. I've already jumped in on some to try to help with that. A few things that we didn't talk about as far as updates real quick. I've been doing updates every council meeting on our drought situation. Yes, we're still in a drought, even though we're in the winter and it's raining. and the COVID situation. So really quick, I want to offer you some good news and some bad news on those two fronts. In terms of the drought, we are finally, after weeks and weeks of a lot of rain, seeing water levels in Lake Sonoma start moving meaningfully in the right direction. We are not at the healthy level yet. And I think we've all seen Bay Area winters where it seems like we're having a great winter and then it just stops. So I'm not quite ready to spike the football, but I feel really encouraged about the trend numbers that we're finally seeing. So even if we are in a drought next summer and there's some restrictions, here's hoping that we're not in a position where it's as severe as what we just experienced. So we're trending toward that. So good news. On the flips, go ahead.
Are we still in a situation where you can't water landscape?
We are not. We're at a 20% requirement right now. With that said, I really hope nobody's watering landscape with the amount of rain we're getting.
Yeah, one of the reasons I mentioned is because I had somebody touch base with me saying that I haven't looked at my water bill, but apparently there's if you have a commercial property, there's like a minimum landscape or something. Does that make sense?
I'm not sure what that is.
Yeah, I'll email you.
Let me know. I'll try to help.
Yeah.
But yeah, yes, you can yes, you can irrigate, and please, everybody, don't irrigate right now. It's not. So that's the drought is signs of hope, let's say. The COVID situation, however, is really treacherous. We are up like 5-fold in Sonoma County over the last couple of weeks. Hospitalizations are not really moving that much yet, but of course that's a lagging indication. So a little bit of hope there. We in Healdsburg are number 2 amongst zip codes in the county as far as case rate. It's here a lot. I'm dealing with this as employers. I imagine a lot of you are dealing with what I am, which is all kinds of disruption and positive cases. 15% last I saw is the testing positivity right now. So, I don't want to regurgitate a bunch of information you could all read in the news, except to say I'm watching it too and hoping that this is a short and tolerable surge. But man, are there a lot of cases out there. So just please be cautious, everybody, and hopefully we can weather this current go round on it. Real quick, one other thing I wanted to mention that we haven't really talked about in this forum before is we're going to be, you may have heard that the operator, the Taman Group of the Villa Chanticleer has opted out of their lease. It was effective December 31st. They were gracious enough to work with us on an extension effectively, which gets us another 6 months. But in talking to our community services team, we feel the clock ticking in a big way. So sometimes we get to pick our work plan and sometimes the work plan finds us. And this is something that wasn't on the to-do list, which is going to be a pretty big deal. We're looking in the matter of days to try to put out some sort of a request for interest just to gauge what the interest is out there. And there'll be an RFP following shortly thereafter. We'll do as much community outreach as we can in the limited time we have. But this is the business community and we'll be looking for an operator. So I just want to ask you all to help us with getting the word out for that. Otherwise, we're going to find ourselves in a pretty perilous situation with a whole bunch of reservations for that facility and an operator that's heading out the door in the middle of the high season. So I'm A, letting you know, and B, asking for everybody's good ideas and thoughts on that because
It's 9 o'clock.
It's 9 o'clock. So we'll take all the help we can get there. Thanks.
Okay. Anything else before we cut out? Did you get me on that? Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. If you don't have anything else, let's see. Talia, you have any closing comments you'd like to make?
I just wanted to mention, I put it in the chat that the chamber is sending out a survey to its members and constituents that will also be listing the dates of the forum on the 11th that they just put out yesterday and mentioned at council, and then also about the council meeting in time for the 18th. Also next month, February, we will not have Good Morning Healdsburg because Jessica and I will be away at an industry conference. So we'll be back in March.
Okay, great. Well, thanks for the heads up on that. And again, Happy New Year, everybody. Thanks for your attendance and all the interest. This is one of the great things that a town like Healdsburg has, where the community can get together with Jeff and the city council and kind of have this little roundhouse discussion that you probably just don't get many other places except for maybe Park City, where or Eddie's out there from wherever he is. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. See you, I guess, in March then.
Happy Thursday.
Happy Thursday.